We've been reporting on many details from the sixth hearing from the committee investigating the January 6th Capitol insurrection. Testimony from former Trump administration aide Cassidy Hutchinson revealed new information about the former president's knowledge of weapons protesters brought to what was a deadly riot. Hutchinson also disclosed a potential altercation between Trump and a Secret Service agent. Tuesday's hearing comes 1 week after authorities seized the phone of former Trump attorney John Eastman as part of its investigation into the Capitol attack. Joining me now with more is CBS News Homeland Security and Justice reporter Nicole Sganga, also here in the D.C. Bureau. Nicole, always great to see you. In the testimony we all watched Tuesday, Cassidy Hutchinson said former President Trump expressed anger that the crowd was so small. She says he subsequently demanded metal detectors be removed so those who had weapons could move more easily. What security implications are raised by that testimony and that detail?
Good to be with you, Errol. That's right. According to Hutchinson's testimony, the former president was, quote, very concerned about the shot, namely the image of his supporters gathering around the White House ellipse to listen to his speech on January 6th. And specifically, the former president was angry that screening of rally-goers by U.S. Secret Service officers were blocking his armed supporters from entering into the ellipse. Hutchinson says that moments before the former president took the stage, she heard him yelling at his advisors, something to the effect of, I don't care that they have weapons. They're not here to hurt me. Take the effing mags away. Mags meaning magnetometers used to detect weapons on rally goers. And beyond this, today's testimony revealed that on the morning of January 6th, Secret Service and law enforcement had spotted Trump supporters carrying guns, including AR-15s and Glocks. And beyond that, news of those kinds of weapons were relayed at a meeting with the Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, at around 10 or 10:15 a.m. Now, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Anthony Ornato reported during that briefing, according to Hutchinson, that people had knives, guns in the form of pistols and rifles, bear spray, body armor, spears, and flagpoles. I was outside the U.S. Capitol on January 6th and do have a distinct memory of seeing some of those weapons, certainly flagpoles and body armor, deployed by rioters, including members of the Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, and 3 Percenters. But Meadows, according to today's testimony, did not even look up from his phone during that White House briefing, and these revelations are significant because they offer new information about warnings of violence clearly understood by top White House aides who ultimately failed to react to any of it in real time. For his part, the former president directed people towards the Capitol during his speech on the ellipse, despite express knowledge of his armed supporters. We know that Attorney General Merrick Garland has been watching these hearings. The question now, are there legal implications here? We also learned today that was certainly top of mind for White House counsel on January 6th, who did everything in their power to keep the president from driving to the U.S. Capitol after his speech. Hutchinson says Pat Cipollone told her, quote, we're going to get charged with every crime imaginable if we make that movement happen.
Hutchinson also testified, you mentioned that effort for the president to get to the Capitol, his staff saying not a good idea. She testified that former President Trump lunged to grab the steering wheel from the head of his Secret Service detail and then grabbed the agent's neck. Really explosive testimony. Any response from the Secret Service, which I know says as little as possible?
Yeah, that's right. This was another big revelation from today's testimony. After his speech, then President Trump returning to his limousine, which is called the Beast, and literally trying to wrestle the steering wheel away from his Secret Service detail to go to the Capitol after it was deemed too dangerous, according to Hutchinson. And what's notable, you mentioned, beyond the outrageous nature of a president wrestling with his own security detail, is also the rarity of such information sharing. You know, historically, Secret Service agents don't share any details pertaining to interactions with their protectees, because those kinds of disclosures can interfere with the agency's mission, namely protecting the president, the White House, the first family, top staff. That job requires a relationship built on a lot of trust. So the prospect of sharing some of those intimate details, typically creates concerns within the agency. Today's testimony was a very unique peeling back of that curtain. We do know, according to a Secret Service spokesperson, every single member of the Secret Service who is requested by the committee has provided to them testimony testimony, the agency has said they are fully supportive and cooperative with the work of the January 6th committee, and that means both requests for appearances by Secret Service officials and documentation. According to a statement out today, Secret Service says they will continue to do so, including by responding on the record to the committee regarding the new allegations surfaced today.
All right. Maybe we'll find out more there. I wouldn't count on it, knowing how mum the Secret Service is on just about everything. I want to also ask you about John Eastman, former President Trump's lawyer. A week ago, his cell phone was seized by the FBI. He was part of, according to what we've heard at the hearings, really the person trying to develop the scheme, the legal path for President Trump to overturn the 2020 election results. What do we know about the seizure of his device and Eastman's subsequent lawsuit?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Errol. John Eastman, best known for devising a failed strategy to keep President Trump in office by pressuring former Vice President Mike Pence to avert certification of the 2020 election. And last week, federal agents seized his phone. That's according to a new lawsuit that he filed in New Mexico Monday, calling the behavior improper. Eastman alleging that federal agents approached him with a search warrant for any electronic and digital devices on him, then later transported those devices to D.C. or a Justice Department forensic lab in Northern Virginia, according to those court documents. Now, Eastman also claims in the lawsuit the agents frisked him before he was forced to provide biometric data to open his iPhone 12. Eastman filed Monday's lawsuit in an attempt to try and force the Justice Department to return that phone to him. He's not alone. Agents from the Justice Department's Office of the Inspector General also raided the home of former DOJ official Jeffrey Clark last week. Now, both of these attorneys, Eastman and Clark, notoriously issued advice to the former president and were in close contact with the White House in the weeks before January 6th. Certainly, these communications of both aides and dozens of others remain at the core of the Justice Department's January 6th investigation, Errol.
More to come there as well. Nicole Sganga, thank you very much.